Speaker, the next graph looks at per capita incomes. And you'll see that Antigua and Barbuda is at the top of the pack. $28,000 per head. And by the way, if any one of you have information to the contrary, please stand and say so. But Madam Speaker, 28,000 EC dollars per head, per capita income in Antigua and Barbuda. In fact, some of the countries in the OECS region have not even achieved half of that amount, Madam Speaker. In fact, the next one in terms of per capita income is the one in yellow, and that appears to be St. Kitts, Madam Speaker, which is even far lower than Antigua and Barbuda. So how can the members on the other side argue that our economy was at the brink of a precipice? Something is not right here, Madam Speaker. I mean, somebody not thinking right. Something going wrong in somebody's mind, Madam Speaker. But let me move on. Madam Speaker, moving right along. The next chart looks at the taxes compared to GDP. So that it's a ratio of taxes collected as a percentage of your gross domestic product. And what we see here, Madam Speaker, is that Antigua and Barbuda was at the bottom of the pack, Madam Speaker, until 2005. And let me explain. The percentage of taxes collected on a GDP basis was as low as 18% under the Antigua Labour Party. 18% in 2001, Madam Speaker. And we see that during the 10-year period under consideration, that Antigua was easily the lowest within the OECS currency region. And that suggests to me, Madam Speaker, that there was scope to increase taxes. There's no doubt about it. And we're not necessarily hitting the members on the other side for increasing taxes. It is the amount, Madam Speaker, is agreed. And not only that, it is the inequity that has been created in the taxation policy of the UPP government. So for instance, Madam Speaker, I've actually created a trend line in black which shows that if we had continued to increase the taxes in a scientific way, not guesswork, not based on somebody's ego, Madam Speaker, it would have been less than what is being collected today. In fact, you would see, Madam Speaker, that from about 2004, Madam Speaker, there has been an increase in taxes, rising steeply in 2006, Madam Speaker. In fact, in 2006, we have actually exceeded St. Lucia's GDP tax ratio, just marginally. And let me say here too, Madam Speaker, if we had to adjust for the $100 million, about $110, $120 million, that is being collected for other payroll taxes, like medical benefits, social security, and education levy, Antigua and Barbuda would have had a GDP tax ratio of about 29%. Presently, Madam Speaker, it is at about between 25 and 26%. And I wish to say here, Madam Speaker, that in the budget statement, the member for St. John's Rural East indicated that our tax to GDP ratio is 19%. Madam Speaker, that is a political spin, perhaps more appropriately described as a lie, Madam Speaker, but you may say that is too harsh for these hollowed walls. Madam Speaker, the GDP ratio, or taxes to GDP ratio, Madam Speaker, presently stands at 26%, representing an increase from 18% under the Antigua Labour Party in 2001, excuse me, an 18% ratio to 26%. And again, I want to reiterate the fact that we're not making the case that you should not have increased taxes. The question is by how much? And not only that, what have they done with these taxes? That is perhaps the most critical issue, Madam Speaker. The next slide looks at government revenues for 6 countries in the OECS region, the 6 largest countries. And you will see, Madam Speaker, that from 1997 up to 2004, that St. Lucia has been ahead in terms of the amount of revenues collected on a GDP ratio. However, in 2005, Antigua eventually caught up with St. Lucia and is now the second largest country in terms of taxes collected, Madam Speaker. That was a position held all the way by St. Lucia in the past. Now, Madam Speaker, I'd like to take the opportunity to turn